How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Mr. Donahue here again. This time we're going to take a look at some stoichiometry, basically quantitative info from balanced chemical equations. So we're going from moles to moles or grams to grams. Remember, quantitative just means we're dealing with quantities and numbers. So we're using numbers with our balanced chemical equations. Basically, how much stuff can I make with all of the stuff that I'm starting with? So our objectives will be to use the balanced chemical equations to determine quantities of products created or reactants needed when given either one, right? For example, how much X can you make if you have this much Y? That's what we're going to be doing. So balanced chemical equations are like a recipe, and they will tell you how much in moles of each thing you need in order to make certain amounts of products. So for example, 2H2 plus O2 gives me 2H2O. It's telling me that I need 2 H2s. I need 2 of those hydrogen molecules and 1 O2, which is going to look like googly eyes because I put circles in circles. And that will give me 2 H2Os. So I'm going to get 2 water molecules. So it's our recipe. And remember that the recipe, those coefficients, are telling you how many moles. Not grams, it's the mole ratio. So that's telling us how to make this stuff. So if I had this as my balanced chemical equation, it's saying that I need 1 N2 molecule, I need 3 H2 molecules, and from that I can make 2 NH3 molecules, okay? So that's what we're talking about. So the coefficients tell you how many moles of each compound you need to react, or how many moles of nitrogen would you need to make 7 moles of NH3. Well, how do you do that? First thing that I recommend you guys do is find and circle and box the compounds of interest. So here they're talking about nitrogen. So in my problem, I'm even going to put a box around it. And then I'm going to do it in the same thing in my chemical equation. And then 7 moles of NH3. So 7 moles I'm going to circle, NH3 I'm circling, and then I'm circling it in my balanced chemical equation because it's helping me keep things organized at a glance. Next, you're going to use the coefficients to create a mole ratio. So I can see that my N2 is going to be my 1, and my NH3 is going to be a 2. So I got a 1 to 2 ratio between these two things. So now you're going to write the given moles on the correct side of the ratio. So the given moles for this problem is 7 moles of NH3. So I got to put it on the NH3 side. So I'm going to put the 7 over here, and I'm going to put X there. I don't know how much nitrogen I need. That's what the problem's asking me to solve. So if they give it to you in grams, then you've got to first convert it to moles, because this 1 to 2 ratio from the coefficients is a mole ratio, not a gram ratio. So if they give you grams, you've got to convert it to moles. And then analyze, so you can cross multiply and divide. So how much does X have to be? Well, I can cross multiply, so I get 1 times 7. So 7 has to equal 2 times X. X equals 3.5, right? So X equals 3.5. So I need 3.5 moles of N2 to react to make 7 moles of NH3. So here's another problem, same equation. How many moles of NH3 are created when 17 moles of H2 are reacted completely? So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, all right, well, 17 moles of H2. So I'm going to circle H2. And it wants to know how many moles of NH3, so I'm going to put a box around that so that they're different. So I'm going to create a ratio. All right, well, H2 to NH3 is going to have a ratio of a 3 to 2. And now I got to put in the moles, 17 moles of H2. So I got to put it on the H2 side. So 17 is going to be on the left side, the H2 side, and X is over there. So I got to figure out what X equals. So I cross multiply and divide, and I get 3X equals 34. So X equals 11.3. And that'll be moles of H2. So that's how I solve that problem. All right, slightly different problem. How many grams of nitrogen are required to react with 24.7 grams of hydrogen completely? Oh no, they said grams. What are we to do? Well, remember the coefficients in the equations are for mole ratios and not for grams. So I got a problem here. They give me grams. I can't use grams. I got to use moles. So what are we going to do? Basically just convert the grams to moles and then use the equation to compare moles and then convert back to grams. That's all you got to do. So this is what we're going to be doing, right? So we start with grams of one thing, and we got to go to moles. So how do we do that? Well, we use the gram formula mass of that substance. Now, once we have the moles, we can use this equation to give us the mole ratio and go back and forth between the moles. Now, once I got the moles of the thing that I'm trying to solve for, if they want grams, well, then I just use the GFM again. So I'll use the GFM to give me grams of the thing that I'm trying to end up with. All right, so you're just going to convert between grams and moles, and you've done that already. You're an expert at that, so it's no big deal. Okay, so looking back at this problem, how many grams of nitrogen? So nitrogen, this stuff, are required to react with 24.7 grams of hydrogen completely. So hydrogen, boom. So, all right, well, first off, I got to get my grams to moles. So I got to use the GFM of H2, which is going to be 2.02 because there's 2 hydrogens. So I got to divide by that, and I get 12.2 moles. So I get 12.2 moles of H2. Okay, so now I got moles. Now I can use my ratio. Well, N2 to H2 is 1 to 3, right? So N2, I need 1 mole of that for every 3 moles of H2. So it's a 1 to 3 ratio. The 12.2 moles is of hydrogen, so I got to put it on the hydrogen side. So 12.2 over here, and X. So I'm solving for nitrogen. So I cross multiply and divide, and I get X to equal, does that sound right? No, 4.1. There we go. 4.1 moles after rounding and such of N2. But the question wants grams of N2. So now I got to do one more step and times it by the gram formula mass of nitrogen, which is 28.02. And I get, and apparently I didn't do this one yet, so hold on, I actually got to use a calculator. 4.1 times 28.02, and I get 114.9, yeah, sig figs, 114.9 grams of N2. So yeah, that's how you do that. So summarize, if you were given grams of reactant, how could you solve for the grams of products that could be made from that? That's what you need to be able to do. All right, so I hope you found that helpful, and I'll see you in class. Okay, bye.